Welcome to video 1 in the series of instructional videos for Harmonic Patterns Pro by Lonesome the Blue in TradingView. First, we need to have a look at all of the options available in this software. As you can see from the top, we have Setup, Time Zone, where you can set your time zone. For example, I'm in London, so I'm going to leave that to 1. Minimum Zigzag Period, which is the minimum zigzag period to create a new zigzag wave. Adjust that and it will have some effect on how your patterns are created, how many you see, when they start and when they finish. Error rate. This calculates where the points of the pattern can fall. So for example, if we look at the drawing here, which is my current screen, that top left point there is for this Gartley pattern. So for example, if I reduce the error rate, the point in the top left would have to be closer to the center of where the pattern expects it to fall. And as you can see, I've gone down to 1 there and the pattern has disappeared. If we slowly climb back up to the default, we'll start to see patterns appear because more will be possible with this error rate. But as we go back up, if we can come back up to 8, we'll get our Gartley back, possibly at 7. Yeah, there it is. But we'll leave it at 8. Minimum pattern length. Essentially, the shorter it is, the more patterns you're going to get. The longer it is, the less you're going to get. Again, it ties in with accuracy. It's something for you to play with. You can just leave it at default, or you can use trial and error and see what effect it has on your statistics. Similarly, maximum pattern length, exactly the same. Longer will give you less patterns, shorter will give you more. Find patterns for, so we can either choose long patterns or short patterns only. I've left mine at long and short because I like to see as many as possible. Maximum patterns on each bar. Again, you can leave that at the default or you can increase it for more patterns. Less patterns often gives you more accuracy. More patterns obviously give you more chances to win. Maximum active patterns, that's set at 10 by default. Again, increase it for more, decrease it for less. Keep pattern until. Now, if I move this over and we look at the table here, you'll see age. Age is bars. So I'm on the 1 minute chart, therefore that's 10 minutes, 43 minutes, and 5 minutes. If I were on the 10-minute chart, that would be 100 minutes, 430 minutes, and 50 minutes. So you can set your pattern to disappear off screen at various stages. Firstly, when target 1 is hit. Secondly, when target 2 is hit. And the final option is to remove patterns older than a certain age because eventually they expire. So if I were to say here, remove patterns younger than 44, you'll see the crab in the table disappear. And as we go back up into 50, the crab will appear again. Incidentally, just as a side note, the younger the pattern, the more chance it has of hitting. So, for example, where I've got a 44 here and I've got an 11 and a 6, I would take more notice of the younger patterns and give them precedence over the older ones. Don't search same patterns. That just means that you won't end up with duplicates. Don't update the patterns. That means as there are changes in your chart, and as we know, charts change continually, the patterns won't be updated to reflect those changes. Leave it unticked and the patterns will live in a live environment where they adapt to the price action on the screen. That's the best option. Show statistics panel. Now, over here is the statistics panel. I've got 2 windows open, so I can have that panel on screen at all time, but if you just use one window, you can show the pattern on and off when you like. So you tick show statistics, and that's what will appear on screen rather than the patterns in the box. And as you can see here, we've got the number of patterns found, the number of patterns invalidated, the number that have hit target 1, target 2, the number that have hit the stop loss, the percentage that have hit target 1, and here is the profit factor, 21.99 for example on Gartley, 21.99 times your initial investment. Same for short, and we can turn this on and off. This is very useful at the bottom here when you come to the later settings, but also if we just go back up and have a look at error rates again, if we look at, for example, we've got 216 patterns found. I'm going to change that error rate to 50%, half, and let's see what effect that has on this panel. So we've gone down to 126. Our accuracy has changed to 98. Back to 8 again. And it's all gone back to where it was. Let's get the settings open again. This is something for you to play with per time frame and per coin. And also, I found that at certain times, you're in a bull market, a bear market, choppy market, a market where there's a bit of news coming in, you may want to adjust some of these settings to make your indicators react to the market in a different way. It's trial and error and experience. It's not something you can actually be taught, but so long as you know how to operate the panel here, the options panel, you should be okay. Okay, let's go down a bit further. So stats is on. Included bars, we can elect to look at all bars available going back in time, so our pattern accuracy reflects all time, or we can restrict it. So for example, if I just want to know in the last month how the accuracy has been, I just click starting date, leave that at 1, leave that at 1, and you'll see here, sorry, let's change this to 2023, there we go. So 1 month and 1 day, January the 1st, 2023. That's the starting date. So as I click here, we're actually in February at the moment, so let's move forwards and make that February the 1st. And we should start to see some changes in the panel. Let's move this one. We're on the 20th of Feb almost, so, well, we're about the 15th. So let's change that to the 10th of Feb, and you'll see the changes there. So this panel now just reflects this time frame, this coin, this exchange, this market environment, and the last 4 days. These are the patterns that have hit in the last 4 days. So this is where you can actually adapt the indicators to market environment. You can fine tune based on what's in this panel, and then you know you've got indicators that will react and work with the current state of play in the market. Okay, let's keep going down. You can change the panel size, small, tiny, large. Let's just change it to normal, and let's have a look at tiny, which will be very tiny, but if you're using a mobile phone, very useful because you can fit a lot more on screen. I think I have mine set to small. You can move it around, top, bottom, middle, left, right. So I've just put it at the bottom of that screen. Let's put it on the left hand side as well. And there it goes. Slight delay in reaction, and that's all to do with the TradingView servers. Not a lot we can do about that. This is a really, really heavy duty indicator and needs all the resources it can get. So I'm going to put my pattern back to where I like it, and I'm going to turn that off. We'll have another look at that in a minute. Show active patterns in panel. I believe as default that's switched off, and that just turns that panel on and off. I prefer it to be on, if I'm honest with you, because I like to see what's going on screen at all time. Again, top, middle, bottom, normal, tiny, left and right. You can alter those dependent upon the screen real estate you've got available. Show recommended entries and targets. Now, if we just come over here with this, I like to turn this off, but if we turn it on, some people may prefer this setup. This gives you all the targets, all the entries on screen on your chart. You can actually operate without the active patterns shown up there and just those lines. Again, if you're on mobile, that might be useful for you. Let's turn that off and go back to what I like. And here, target 1. This is where you decide where you want target 1 to fall. Now this, if I could just go back to the stats panel, this is part of the tuning process. So on this chart, we've got 216 patterns there. Of those 216, target 1 has hit 160 times. That's because I've got the setting here at 37%. If I were to change that to say 67%, you'll see target 1 go down quite dramatically to 136. Still quite a nice figure, and when you look at 216 patterns, still not bad in terms of a hit rate, but for me, I like that to be absolutely spot on, because what I like to do is use it on a TA basis rather than an entry and exit basis. So I like to know where that price is going to go at any given time, and this, at these settings, tells me that basically. So entry, you can change how far away in percentage your entry is from the point of origin. If we go down a bit further, stop loss, I leave mine set at manual because, as I said, I use this for TA purposes. But what you can do is set your stop loss to break even. You can have a trailing stop loss, default stop loss, and also a reward risk stop loss. That's all handled with this information here. Again, for TA purposes, set it to manual and set that to number 4. For all other purposes, you're going to have to adjust this in terms of what's in your wallet, what you're trading, what your preferences are essentially. Pattern validation zones. Let's go down a bit more. Now this, if I click it, let's just turn the stats off. Stats are off. The patterns on? Yes, patterns are on. Right. Back down to pattern validation zones. Now I turn this off, but here are the validation zones. If you can just see there underneath crab. So I've got that turned on at the moment. If we go back up to error rate, watch what happens to that zone there as I come down to say 1. It's vanished. As I come back up to say 7, well, it's come back, but it's a bit smaller than it was. Up to 8, it's a bit larger still. And if we go all the way up to say 20, which is the maximum, it disappears and becomes the entire screen. So we'll come down and I'll just show you the difference. There we go. There's 12. There's 8. So as you can see, there is less room for this point to actually land and say, yep, I'm part of that crab pattern. That's what the error rate does for you. So I have that turned off. I think as standard it comes switched on. Close price must be in the zone. Essentially that relates to your closing price landing, and it tells you exactly there and where the closing price lands. Source for invalidation will be the closing price, but you can say high and low. Line style, I like dotted. I think solid is standard, but I like dotted. And then we move on and have a look at prediction. Pattern prediction, predict possible patterns. If I click that, you'll start to see patterns before they've actually formed. This is very useful, but not something that I use. But a lot of people I know with these indicators do actually use this, and they love this feature. Tells them what's coming, tells them what's possible. All kinds of options down there for color, line width, to make that as unobtrusive as you possibly can. So for example, if I were to do that, and then that, all standard trading view options, it makes that quite unobtrusive and it doesn't necessarily interfere with my chart. I'm going to turn that off because that's how I have it. Now we come down to the list of patterns and the search priority. We can ask it to look for non-standard patterns first or standard patterns first. And as we come down, here's the list of patterns. Standard patterns: Gartley, butterfly, bat, crab, shark, cipher, alternate bat, deep crab, Nen star, 3 drive, and ABCD. Standard harmonics patterns. Non-standard patterns, which may sound a bit counterintuitive to you because these patterns are often talked about in trading. It can detect a descending triangle, there's a beep, an ascending triangle, a symmetrical triangle, head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, double top and double bottom. Other patterns it can search, and you can just select these and remove them from the equation. Again, I like them all to be active so I get the best chance possible. White swan, black swan, 5-0, anti-Gartley, anti-butterfly, anti-bat, anti-crab, anti-shark, anti-cipher, and Nen star. So you're looking at 28 patterns this indicator will find for you. Let's have a look at alerts. These are all preset and standard, but if you go to the Harmonic Patterns Pro indicator page, scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see a list of options that you can put in these boxes to make your messages a bit more customized or to carry the information you want them to carry. Harmonic Patterns Pro will only show what's in this list. And when you select an alert, you can only tell the system that you want it to relay any alert that this indicator throws up. So we can have new patterns found once per bar or once per bar close, and similarly pattern updated, entered position, that's when the price has hit that entry point, reach target 2, stop loss hit, that will tell you if that's hit, invalidated pattern, and you can change the options there. Right, show rates between waves. I'm going to show you this one. Click it and the figures appear here to give you all the information on how these patterns are calculated. I like a nice clean screen, so I turn those off. I also turn off XABCD labels, but they can be shown as well. Let's turn them off and you'll see them appear and disappear again. Keep last pattern on chart. That just basically, as it says, keeps the last pattern on the chart. Down again then to how the patterns are actually going to look. Shaded patterns or unshaded, entirely up to you if you're showing the patterns on screen, which I don't do. I actually have up the top here my settings so that you don't actually get to see the patterns. All I want is that chart there. But you can change how the patterns look, what color they come in at, and what the style is here. Similarly, you can show your zigzag or you can turn it off. I haven't got anything on that page, but let's just go there and see what happens. There it is. And again, you can change the colors. All of this is to do with the visualization of what you're looking at or what the information is. Defaults will reset everything to default. Save it as default will save your settings. Now, saving those settings actually works on a per layout basis. Within TradingView, when you look at a chart and you look at how everything's laid out, that's called a layout. If you save as default, everything relates to that layout. Start a new layout, you can either carry on with the settings you have or you can change them. Very useful for having various coins that react differently to different things within the market. Okay, that's pretty much everything in terms of the settings and the statistics reporting within Harmonic Patterns Pro by Lonesome the Blue. Stay tuned for the next video where we'll tell you how to use the actual indicator itself to make yourself some money. Thanks.